He told me he had to stay late at the office on the night of our 10th wedding anniversary. I lit candles, reserved a table at our favorite spot and waited. In my finest dress, but then I came across a receipt he'd taken his 26-year-old assistant to dinner instead, so I did the only thing a woman like me could think to do. I cancelled our mortgage. Stay with me while I unfold everything, and if my story resonates, don't forget to support the channel by subscribing, liking and sharing with someone who needs to hear this. My name is Claire Granger. I'm 37 years old and I was married to Logan for a full decade. We met during college days, built a future together, launched a business and bought our dream home. I believed we had something strong. I thought love could carry it all, but I was wrong. Our 10th anniversary was meant to be unforgettable. I spent the day getting everything ready, picked out a new dress, booked the place we used to talk about, and even bought a little gift. Logan messaged me at 6 o'clock, said he had an emergency at work. I believed him like I always had. But later that night, while hanging up his suit jacket, I felt something in the pocket, a receipt from the same restaurant, 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine. And that exact date, our anniversary. My heart sank. I didn't want it to be true. I stared at the receipt, praying I was mistaken. The next morning I called the restaurant, asked if Logan had been there. The hostess confirmed it. Yes, he dined with a young blonde woman. Her name was Jenna, his assistant. My hands trembled. My chest was heavy. I didn't cry, not yet. I just sat there replaying all the moments, the late nights, the glances he gave her at events, the way he dismissed my worries. I had let it slide for so long, but not this time. This time I stayed silent, not broken silent. I started doing my homework. The house we lived in, the one worth over $1 million, was in my name, paid off with the inheritance my parents left me. I reviewed our finances, contacted a lawyer and put a plan into motion. When Logan left for another business trip that weekend, I changed the locks, filed for divorce, packed his belongings, and set them outside with a note that read, "Since you've moved on already." I thought it was time I did too. When he returned and found the door wouldn't open, he called me screaming. I stayed composed, told him the house was legally mine, the marriage was finished, and the mortgage had been erased just like us. He pleaded, he wept. I didn't, not because I wanted to hurt him, but because I had simply taken him out of the life he never appreciated. The signs had always been there, I just refused to see them. A year before our anniversary, Logan forgot my birthday, not just the gift, he didn't even acknowledge it. When I mentioned it that evening, he looked up from his laptop and said, "Was that today?" My heart sank, but I brushed it off, told myself he was just overwhelmed. Then came the business trip, sudden, vague, last-minute meeting, he'd say as he tossed a suit into a bag, rushing for the door. I'd ask where to. Just somewhere in Chicago, or only gone for a couple days. Never clear, never specific. I didn't pry much. I wanted to believe in him. Jenna became his assistant a year and a half ago. She was cheerful, always glowing, and Logan couldn't stop bringing her up during dinner. It was always, "Jenna nailed that," or "Jenna really saved the day." At first I thought it was just admiration for a team member, but slowly the way he spoke about her shifted. It got gentler, warmer. Too close. My best friend Mara picked up on it. She didn't sugarcoat. "CLA, you need to open your eyes," she told me one day. "He's either emotionally checked out or already crossed the line." I hated that thought, told her she was jumping to conclusions. I didn't want trouble. I couldn't accept the idea that my husband might betray me, but deep inside I felt the shift. Logan had pulled away in every way. Our talks were shallow, the laughter faded, the bed cold, his eyes on his phone more than on me. Still I convinced myself, it's just a phase. The week before our anniversary he was off again on another trip. Mara gave me a look when I told her again. No hotel name, no airline. I shrugged, said I trusted him. She hugged me tight and whispered, "Claire, loyalty goes both ways." I laughed it off, like always, exhausted by the silence inside me, but that receipt shattered everything. All the moments I'd ignored came back sharp. Every birthday he missed, every white lie, every dinner when Jenna's name came up more than mine. The truth had been at my door for years. I just wouldn't answer it. I was doing the laundry like any Sunday, sorting his clothes, grabbed his suit from the hamper. It still carried his cologne and something else unfamiliar, like fancy perfume, but not mine. I reached into the inside pocket in case he'd left anything, and that's when I found it, a wrinkled receipt. Nearly threw it out without looking, but something made me pause. Maybe the elegant logo up top, or maybe just my gut finally yelling at me to pay attention. I flattened the paper and stared. The restaurant was Bellagio, the one we used to dream about, the rooftop one with candles and city views, always just out of reach. Maybe next year we'd say, laughing. We said we'd go for our 10th anniversary. The date on the receipt, our 10th. I couldn't look away. 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, 1 dessert, signed by Jenna. I read the name over and over again. Jenna. Logan hadn't worked late that night. He hadn't been in meetings. He had taken his Young assistant to the very place we always said we'd go while I waited at home in the dress I chose for him while I lit candles while I waited for a man who never planned to show up. I felt like the air had left the room, still I had to be certain, so I called the restaurant. "Hi," I said, trying to stay steady. "I'm checking a reservation from the 14th under Logan Granger." The hostess asked me to hold, came back shortly. Yes, the booking was for 2. They showed up on time. The bill was signed by, let me check, yes, a Jenna, and just like that the final thread snapped. It was the truth I hadn't searched for, but that found me all the same. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the receipt in my palm. Something inside went completely still, not broken, just still. Like something in me had been switched off. All the red flags, all the hunches, all the uneasy feelings I'd buried, they all led here. Logan hadn't just hurt me emotionally or pulled away in silence. He had made a choice, and he chose her on our night. I folded the receipt and placed it in my jewelry box, not to save it, but because I couldn't throw it away just yet. It wasn't just paper anymore, it was the instant everything turned, and I knew exactly what had to happen next. That night I sat across from Logan at dinner. I reheated leftovers and fixed his plate just like usual, as if nothing had changed, but everything had. I looked across the table at him, really looked, and wondered how many lies sat behind that face I once trusted. I had found the receipt. I said it softly. No anger, just stating what was there. He looked up mid-bite, fork hovering. What receipt? The one from Bellagio on our anniversary. He blinked but recovered fast. Oh, that just a work dinner, came up last minute. Didn't want to trouble you with Jenna, I asked, my voice still calm. She's part of my team, Claire. You're being paranoid again. I didn't fight, I didn't shout, I just nodded and ate another bite of rice. Let him think I was still swallowing his lies like always. But something in me had already changed. I wasn't searching for answers anymore. I already had them. In the days that followed I moved differently, quietly and with purpose. While Logan stayed wrapped in his routine gym office late meetings, I began collecting documents. Found the folder with our shared bank details, insurance files, mortgage records, every piece of paperwork he'd always handled without question. And that's when I found something that made me pause. The house, it was under my name completely. Logan had suggested it years ago, said it would be better for taxes, that my cleaner credit made it smarter. I had trusted him. Now that detail was my leverage. I snapped photos of everything, saved them in a hidden folder on a secure backup drive, and began looking for a divorce lawyer. I didn't tell a soul, not even Mara. That first meeting was calm, efficient. The woman across from me didn't ask why, just what she wanted. Facts, I gave them steady and clear, the same way I had spoken to Logan when I left her office that day. The wheels were already in motion, steps were laid out, forms to complete, plans to follow, and in that moment I understood one thing with total certainty. This marriage wasn't ending in fire or fury, but in silence, slowly, like a structure built on weak ground. And I was finished pretending it could hold. Claire sat at her kitchen table, documents scattered like puzzle pieces. Her fingers trembled a little, but her thoughts were sharp. For years she had placed all her faith in Logan, her time, her heart, her finances, and now she was ready to reclaim it all, calmly, legally, completely. Her lawyer confirmed the first fact: the home, now valued at over $1.3 million, was listed solely in Claire's name. Logan had asked for it to be that way back then, claiming tax benefits because of her strong credit. She had said yes, like always, not knowing what a blessing it would turn into. What Logan didn't realize was that Claire had recently paid off the entire mortgage with inheritance left by her grandmother, funds stored in an account under her name only. At the time she thought she was just being a responsible partner, helping with the house they shared. Now that account was her starting point. With her lawyer's help, Claire froze their shared bank account legally and quietly. It only required a couple signatures and a few files submitted. No alerts, no red flags. Logan wouldn't even realize until he tried to swipe his card. Next on the list was ending the mortgage early, and since the home was entirely hers with no remaining balance, Claire could file the request. The bank confirmed it all. A week later the official deed arrived in the mail. Claire stood outside holding the envelope like it was a shield. She wasn't doing anything underhanded, everything was lawful, above board. Her attorney ensured every step was solid. Claire wasn't after vengeance, revenge left scars. She wanted a clean exit, one no one could reverse. She started switching every utility and service into her own name, closing every joint credit line, removing Logan's access from everything she could, methodical and emotionless, while Logan carried on like nothing had changed. Claire built her freedom one quiet move at a time. This wasn't about punishing him the way he'd hurt her, this was about power, taking it back after giving it away for far too long. She didn't need to scream or fall apart. She only had to finish what she started, and she would. Claire waited. She knew Logan had another trip on the horizon. One of those where no details were shared and shirts came back with a heavy scent of cologne. She didn't protest. She kissed him goodbye at the door like she always had, and when he drove off with his bag of secrets she got to work. The locksmith showed up the next morning. Claire stood watch, arms folded, as the man replaced every lock, polished, and knew it was done in under an hour. She paid in cash, said thank you, and stepped back into the house feeling a weight lift. Her next task was the bedroom. She opened their closet and began to pull Logan's things, every jacket, every suit, pair of socks, his watches, shoes, grooming tools, all the small signs of the life they had once shared. She folded them neatly, not out of love but for closure. Box after box she carefully packed his belongings, stacking them in order near the front door. On top of the last box Claire placed a note in her own handwriting. No anger, no long speech, just a single sentence that said it all. Since you already moved on, I figured it was time I did too. She stepped back and took it in 6 boxes, one suitcase, and a chapter. Officially finished that evening she submitted the final divorce documents her attorney had prepared. There were no tears, no second thoughts. Her signature felt like freedom. 2 days later Logan pulled into the driveway just as the sun was setting. He climbed the steps, fishing out his key like always, but it didn't work. Confused he tried again and again. Then he saw the boxes, then the note from the upstairs window. Claire watched silently as he stood there trying to understand, knocking once then again, but she didn't respond. The house remained silent, her house for the first time in a decade. Claire finally felt secure in her own space. Logan was locked out, not just from the building but from the life he assumed would always be there for him. She didn't owe him anything, not even words. He already knew why. The next morning he came back, pounding on the front door like nothing had changed, red-faced, frustrated and bewildered. Claire didn't hurry. She took a sip from her coffee cup, walked slowly to the door and stepped outside, shutting it gently behind her. Claire, what the hell is this? Logan snapped, pointing to the boxes still sitting untouched. My key won't work. What's going on? She looked at him like a stranger. Would her eyes calm, not cold, just clear? You don't live here anymore, she said plainly. This house is in my name, the mortgage is cleared, and we're done. Logan's jaw dropped. You've lost it. You can't just throw me out of my own place. It's not your place, she said, lifting a folder. This is the deed with my name on it. The mortgage was paid with my inheritance. You agreed to that for the tax benefit, remember? He lunged for the folder, but she stepped back and opened it instead. Inside were the signed divorce papers, account freeze confirmation, and the legal proof of her sole ownership. Every paper neat, every step lawful. He shook his head, his voice climbing. You're being crazy emotional. We can fix this. This is just a rough patch. Claire gave a soft laugh. Logan, I was silent for 10 years while you slowly erased me, while you swapped connection for distance and our anniversary for someone else's company. I'm not being emotional, I'm finally being honest. His face twisted. It didn't mean anything, Jenna, it's not serious. I made a mistake. Claire met his gaze. Then maybe she'll let you sleep on her couch. His bravado faded, his voice dropped. Claire, please, let's just talk. You're still my wife. Not anymore, she replied calmly. You made your decisions and I've made mine. He stood there speechless as she looked at him with peace and certainty. She was no longer under his control, and that terrified him more than anything. I loved you, he whispered. She nodded. Maybe once, but love doesn't come wrapped in lies and betrayal. Without another word she turned, walked inside and gently closed the door behind her. Logan was left standing there alone, speechless, powerless. Claire returned to her seat, picked up her coffee and took another slow sip. Sunlight streamed through the windows, warm and golden. She felt strong, settled, free. The house around her was still quiet. She walked through the living room holding another cardboard box and paused at the fireplace. The photo on the mantel captured her and Logan smiling, wrapped in each other's arms, taken on their honeymoon. She stared at it. Her smile looked genuine. His now felt like a mask. She placed the photo into the box, moving from room to room, sorting through the years they'd built together. 10 years of moments and heartbreak, reduced to contents in cardboard. Old anniversary cards filled with sweet words that now rang hollow, gifts that once felt precious, small souvenirs from shared trips, notes he left her back when things felt real. Each item stung a bit, peeling away memories like healing a scar. She picked up a framed drawing Logan had once given her of their first home. It had made her feel seen back then. Now she placed it gently in the donation pile. Next was their bedroom, the place where laughter once lived, where dreams were shared and late night whispers echoed. She removed the sheets, opened the closet and pulled down the tie Rack Logan never used but had insisted on keeping the top shelf held their wedding album leather-bound and thick with pictures filled with smiles and promises. She sat quietly at the edge of the bed, album resting on her lap, flipping through the memories. No tears came, they had dried up long ago. Instead, she felt tired and oddly relieved. When she closed the album, she stood up, walked out to the garage and dropped it into the trash bin without hesitation. That afternoon Claire stood in the middle of her bedroom holding a paint roller. The walls had been pale blue, Logan's choice. Now she painted them warm beige. Hers. Every stroke was a new beginning. She imagined her future, peaceful mornings, genuine friendships, a space that belonged only to her. When the painting was finished, she lit a candle, opened the windows and let fresh air sweep through the room. She didn't just clean the house, she cleared her soul. Claire woke up at 8:30 a.m., sunlight streaming across the room, no alarm, no raised voices, no tension lingering in the air. She stretched, pulled on her robe and walked barefoot into her renovated kitchen, a space she redesigned on her own. The counters were now bright marble, not the dark granite Logan once insisted on. The walls a calming sage green, soft and still. She brewed a pot of fresh coffee, leaned against the counter and smiled. Freedom, she thought, tasted exactly like coffee at 9 a.m., warm, honest and made just the way she liked it. It had taken months to reach that moment. Once the divorce was final, Claire didn't rush to replace the quiet with someone else's voice. She welcomed it in the stillness. She could hear herself again. She could finally listen to the dreams she'd silenced for a man who never truly saw her. One of those dreams had always been designed. So she pulled out her old sketchbooks, took a few online classes and started sharing her ideas online. To her surprise, people noticed. A neighbor asked her to redo their living room, then a friend needed help with a nursery. Little by little Claire was building a client list. The jobs weren't huge but they were meaningful and gave her reason to wake up with purpose. Mara, her best friend, never left her side. They laughed again over wine, takeout and long conversations about everything and nothing. One evening Claire hosted a simple dinner, just 6 friends, no formal table settings, no performance, just warm food, candles and people who stood by her when things fell apart. As they raised a glass to her new venture, Claire Granger Designs, she looked around and felt something she hadn't felt in years, contentment, quiet and real. Sometimes the evening still felt a little lonely. That was okay. She didn't fill the space with noise or distractions. She let herself feel it and let it pass. She had learned peace wasn't about never feeling alone, it was about knowing you were whole even when you were by yourself. There wasn't a new love story on the horizon and Claire didn't mind. She had time now. She had slow mornings, meaningful work, friends who cared and coffee still warm at 9 a.m. She had everything she needed. Dear Logan, you'll never see this letter and honestly that's the point. There was a time I would have begged for your attention, for your honesty, for your love. I spent years shrinking myself to fit inside the small quiet place you gave me in your world. I forgave, missed birthdays, cold shoulders and smiled through Jenna's name being spoken at every meal. But this letter isn't about the past. I lived it and I made it through. This is a thank you, not for the love we had but for the final lie that opened my eyes. The receipt in your jacket, the truth on our anniversary, the exact moment I realized I had become invisible in my own marriage. That was when I stopped pleading for affection and started remembering who I was before you and who I've become since. She's stronger, she's awake, she's finally free. I didn't leave because of Jenna, I left because I finally chose to love myself. Your betrayal didn't break me, it revealed everything I had forgotten about myself, my passion, my calm, my voice. I have those back now. I no longer flinch when a door opens or question my value in someone else's silence. I don't wait for approval to feel joy. The day you showed me who you truly were was the day I gave myself permission to be free. This letter will stay tucked in my journal between pages of dream sketches and real pieces of me that survived the storm. I won't send it. There's no reason to. You're part of a closed chapter I've put away for good. Tomorrow I fly to Italy, my first solo trip. No check-ins, no explanations, just me, my camera, my sketchpad and the quiet joy of exploring the world on my own terms. Goodbye Logan, and thank you truly for setting me free. Claire, do you think Claire was right to walk away and take her life back on her own terms, or should she have given Logan one more chance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and if stories like this speak to your heart, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss what comes next.